Continuing now on America Talks and changing gears to a topic where we share a passion, I believe, our money. I had the chance to sit down with David Scranton, the founder of Sound Income Strategies. David has also written a new book on investing entitled Return on Principle: 7 Core Values to Help Protect Your Money in Good Times and Bad. I asked David a question that you might be asking: what effects do the candidates and the presidential election really have on our economy?
Probably not. I mean, the reality of it is you know, with Congress has a way of oftentimes blocking whoever becomes president, whether it's one direction or the other. And I think he's missing half the picture. Yes, it's one thing to put a tariff-type plan in place, which says, well, these products can't come back into the country. But he's also a smart enough businessman to know that the real secret is not to get companies to stay here in the United States with the stick, but instead to do it with the carrot, to create economic policies, to create a business-friendly environment so businesses want to stay here. We see it from state to state, right? If one state all of a sudden has higher corporate tax rate than another, companies move to another state. And that's all that's happening right now with the United States. And if we can just get more competitive, which wouldn't take much, all of a sudden, that really is the solution. So
Mr. Trump is talking about lowering the corporate tax rate to what, 15% overall, to bring it in line, and that will bring business back, in your opinion?
That will help, because the fiduciary responsibility of any CEO is to maximize shareholder value. And how do they do that? By maximizing earnings. And in the financial world, those earnings are after tax. So if a corporate CEO doesn't take into account income taxes, then he's actually violating his fiduciary responsibility to shareholders. And that's what I think most people don't really understand.
Well, David, let's talk about fiduciary responsibility and ultimate responsibility to oneself and one's family, and
yes,
your new book.
Oh, goody. We have to talk about the book.
Let us talk about Return on Principle,
yes,
and those 7 core values. Now, we've got about 4 minutes left here, so I don't know if you can go through all 7, but as you're looking at how you would define core values, of the 7, what is most important for the investor to keep in mind?
Well, without even digging into the 7, each one individually, I think the biggest thing is the investor needs to realize that the old rules of investing are off the table now. So people who thought they were really good at being do-it-yourself investors or even advisors that were really strong, they're going to have a real tough road ahead if they don't have that right brain, left brain balance, if they don't have what I call the inside game to investing. And what I realized was that every book out there on investing is a how-to book. It's all about when to buy, when to sell, or if your goal is X, you should be allocated like this. But that's really, truly more of the left brain quantitative side. And at a time like this, when the markets are suspended in thin air, when we really don't know what the stock market should be worth today, if it hadn't been for all the cheap money, all the quantitative easing, low interest rates, et cetera, then it's really more about the subjective side. It's more like that right brain side. And that's why I wrote the book, is to get people to realize, hey, you know, do I have the inside game to be a good investor? Does my advisor have the inside game? In fact, what we've actually done in the book to make it more user-friendly is actually put questions on each of the 7 core values that an investor can ask him or herself to determine if they have the inside game, but also questions that he or she can now go to the financial advisor with and ask the financial advisor these questions to determine whether or not that advisor possesses that inside game in those 7 core values.
So it's important to have this inside game together, but you have been one who has been rather outer focused in recent times with books and now with television. In fact, you have a TV program, The Income Generation. Does your new book tie into your television program?
Well, it was interesting because it's actually in interviewing all these financially successful individuals, even some billionaires on the television show as guests on the Income Generation show, that's when it really started to get me to realize that it's not just about these rules. What made this person a billionaire versus maybe this person who was only worth $10 million, let's say, only worth $10 million.
I was going to say, not a bad day's work from some people's perspective.
But the people on Wall Street, there's a huge difference. And what makes the difference oftentimes is the mindset. Does that person have that inside game? And one day, I'll never forget, as I was interviewing some people, it just dawned on me. And I realized that's what it was about. And I started to look back at my clients and those who've done the best versus those that haven't financially. And even advisors that I teach and coach around the country, and those that have done the best for their clients versus those that haven't. And I realized it's not about the outside external rules, it's about the inside rules. So it's actually as a result of the television show, The Income Generation, that got me to have this aha moment, which then of course led us to writing the book.
Minute 30 remains. I don't want to give this short shrift, but at times we end up in shorthand. And I want a little bit better understanding of, quote, the inside game. Can you give us a brief definition of what that is?
Sure. The inside game is, do you have the proper mindset to truly be good at what you do? Now, viewers here may be shocked to hear this, but I know you, and I know that you've run marathons before. And usually a big fellow like yourself doesn't run marathons, but you know that when you get to the last 6 miles in a marathon, when the going gets tough, that's when you've got to have the strong mindset, because that's when your brain is telling you, why am I doing this? I want to quit. But you have to stay with it. And the same is true with investing. If you don't have the proper mindset, you can do well in normal average times, but all of a sudden, when you get what's called a black swan event, which is the equivalent of a 100-year flood in the financial markets, if you don't have that internal mindset to apply common sense to the rules, that's when the stuff can really hit the fan.